So you guys have to agree.
Click on got it.
Yep, say got it.
Who's OMH?
Okay, that works. Well, we're not doing we are doing a raffle tonight, so we do need to do that. So, OMH, you need to rename yourself, and you could pop on, and we could rename for you. If you unmute yourself, we could modify your name. And in fact, I'm going to give Randy and Bob co-hosting duties. And do a few here.
Should we tell people to feel free to throw links in the chat since Al is not here tonight?
Yeah, I have a bunch that Al gave me, and it's already
okay.
It's already on a PDF.
Ah, good.
Okay. All right, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are recording. Good to see. Oh, good to see everyone. And what I'd like to do first, so basically, let me bring up the keynote. Move that over there. All right. Well, we've started the recording, so we can get rid of that. So tonight we're going to go through now. We usually have Al that's great with our current events and everything else. Well, he's not going to be able to join us, but he did send me 18 links, which I'll go over in breaking news and all that stuff. And let's see, get my menu set up. And we'll go through that first. Then we'll go to volunteer announcements. We'll do tech Q&A. We do have one online, so be ready with that. And then we're going to get into photos on the Mac, and then we'll have our virtual raffle afterwards. So this is photos on the Mac, and I'm going to go through it fairly quickly and give you a lot of information. We'll have plenty of time for Q&A at the end, but it's really a precursor to the next first Saturday class where we'll dig in and do 3 hours and really try to get in and do nuts and bolts. So I'm not going to get down in deep. I'm going to just kind of go an overview of things you should look for when you're making photos, the enhancements you can do, and then we're going to dig down and really get deep into the enhancements. And of course, that one will be recorded too. And that's the first Saturday of June, we're going to do that. So moving right along, I will bring up, Al put this great document together. Everyone will get this. Bob emails this out in the next blast. And every link is here, but I've got them in Safari, so I'm going to go through each one just quickly. Those are the ones I'm doing. So Apple Insider. So this is interesting. I hadn't read this, but the 14 will have a autofocus where currently when you're doing the front camera, there's not really much focus that you can do, and it's not as good. So they're going to improve that. And then they're going, Tim Cook, he made the Time 100 list of most influential people for last year, and he should be on this thing quite a bit. He is managing.
There's 5 covers, and he's on one of them.
They did 5 covers?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
I mean, he's one of the 5 covers.
He's one of the 5. Oh, that's interesting how to do that. And then the other thing is that, you know, how well he has managed Apple through these times of chip shortages and things like that. I think if it was the old days when Apple was not a big player, it would have been really difficult to get products. So I think it's he's done quite well, and that was his forte, was logistics and supply chain. So let's see if I can get my cursor back over to the screen. There we go. And 9 to 5 Mac, again, they showed, oh, here are the 5 total covers. So that's it. And how to avoid being scammed by fake Apple support staff. So the most important thing there is go to apple.com and things like that. Same thing if you're trying to go to HP, make sure it's hp.com and things like that. I think this article is good, but just be careful and use common sense. And Pixelmator Pro, I'm going to touch on briefly tonight. It is a wonderful app for photos. Um, it's just really, really good, and makes it so you could get rid of using Photoshop and some of the other things I'm going to show you, because Adobe is not anyone's friend. Mixed reality headsets. So this is something we don't know. The Worldwide Developer Conference is coming up the first week in June, and they may give us a heads up, so to speak, which is a bit punish. But the virtual reality headset, there may be something coming up with that. We don't know. The Worldwide Developer Conference is for the developers who are going to develop all the software for what we're going to see in the future and what will be released this fall. Smart TV, tracking your viewing habits. This is just a little primer on how to do that. There is some tracking, but you don't have to worry about all of it. Accessibility features. I've always been on this bandwagon, and Apple is improving it, especially in the new software updates coming. There is amazing capabilities with iOS devices, the watch, and even on the Mac. So one they're showing here is this newest thing is this, well, because Apple has this hyper mapping that's been done, well, a sight challenged person could hold their phone up and it will identify that there's a door 7 feet away and it's closed. And that way you would know that you have to somehow open it and stuff. And I think that's fantastic. The amount of freedom and propulsion it'll allow people to do that are sight impaired is just incredible. No more iPod. The original iPod started in 2001, and the last of them were the iPod Touches, which were essentially more recently like an iPhone, but without the ability to connect to cellular. And I'll tell you, sales must have been pretty low at the end, because there's still a lot of people that preferred to have an iPod for their kids and things like that didn't have cellular capabilities. But it could also be the ability for Apple to support multiple product lines too. Anyway, it's gone. I attended at the Computer History Museum about 2 weeks ago, probably closer to 3 weeks ago. Tony Fadell, who was the main design guy and the guy that really got the iPod going for Apple, gave a presentation at the Computer History Museum, actually in person, and it was online. I would highly recommend going if you get a chance. The Computer History Museum in Mountain View, go visit it first of all, but second of all, you can go online and you can probably get his presentation. It was an excellent presentation. He went on, when he left Apple, he started Nest thermostat. So it was the first of the smart thermostats. There were no connected thermostats before that. He was actually the first, and he went through the trials and tribulations of, well, where do we sell it? Home Depot wasn't into tech at that time and things like that. So it was pretty interesting. And Nest got bought by Google, and they became what they are today. And we have a lot of smart thermostats. And he's off doing some other things, and it was a great presentation. There's new iOS 15.5. You should probably have that by now. It's a great update. tvOS and one of the others had not been updated yet, but it's in the process right now. It's really good, and always keep your iOS updated. Let's see here. Anyway, you can read this article. It was the about a woman that was assaulted. I didn't read this article, so WWDC, they're going to have wallpapers like this. This is the new logo for it, so you can download some of those wallpapers. Again, you will have all of these links in a PDF that will get emailed to you, and each of those links you can actually click right on in the PDF. And this is the big, and it's called what? Swiftly Approaching. So this is kind of interesting. They've got the memojis here with different ones, and it's kind of like the Apple logo is. They always do good artwork on these invitations. So now if you use Waze, which is the best GPS application, there is the ability to have your music on there, and that's handy for those of you everybody always has issues with their car when they're trying to listen to music either from the radio or wherever, and then you don't hear the directions. The GPS doesn't cut in. So realistically, if you're using a program like Waze and you're streaming your music from your phone and you're in Waze, it'll mute down the music to give you directions and then come back up. So it is really nice that the two are bundled together like that now. And it's through the regular Apple Music. The new Pride bands, these are a little different than the full rainbows. Anyway, they've got these attractive bands. And yeah, this is the thing. It's amazing. The chip crunch has finally hit Mac products. There are longer lead times and wait times than there had been, and I think part of that was because Shanghai in China was shut down for a month, and so they're really starting to feel it now. Even though Apple has weathered that storm pretty well, it's kind of catching up from them, and I don't know if that's increased demand or if it's decreased chip supply or a combination of both. And let's see. Oh, this is just using the Apple Watch and health benefits. And I really think going forward, people ask what is the next iPhone for Apple. And I really think it's actually doing stuff for the health field because that affects everybody on the planet. And there's a lot of inroads that can be made. And if you think about how archaic healthcare was just 10 years ago versus what healthcare is like now. And then you can see that if you get a smart company that couples with it, but also the ability to capture tons of data, because data is priceless when you're trying to figure out health trends and things like that. So you've got this device that can monitor all that stuff. And they've only cracked the edge of the iceberg on what can happen with health products. Google Maps, now you can get Street View on iOS, which is really good. There used to be a specific app to do that, but now you can do it on Google and you can see Street View, which is really good. But the cool thing is you can go back and see older stuff. Google put some of the old stuff to make it look like you're going back in time. And then streaming, of course, is increasing because the cable companies are so tone deaf, and so streaming is really increasing now. I wonder how much of that is the fact that now you almost have to have 2 or 3 different streaming services. So it's fractured. Those of you that are trying to cut the cable or doing different things like that, I'm going to show you a place that I go for this. Let's see, it's Clark.com, which is Clark Howard. I guess I must have a man crush on this guy because he's just so good. Streaming. and Clark.com, best every option explained. So if you go here to this website, you can go through and no, this isn't the one. Oh yeah, here you go. So where is it? So here it does all the services, and then you can go through and kind of figure what will work for you, and it'll have the channel lists and everything else. It's not actually this one. I will attempt to get that link for you and put it in the rest of it, but it's one where you go by and you put in what stations you want, and it'll show you where it's available. Let's just go see if it's streaming channel tool. There we go. In fact, I'll put this one in the chat right now for everybody. There you go. It's in the chat. You can click on that and we'll go from there. But you go in here, you type your channel name and it'll tell you what has it. Let's say Paramount Network. So if you click that, and then it shows you who has it and on what level. This is just a great tool. You know, which level you need, where it's available. And again, that's, I put in the link, and it's the live TV streaming channel tool. All right, so any questions on those things that we went over? Feel free to raise your hand or go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away, or raise your physical hand, and one of the co-hosts will tell me that you're asking. Nobody? Okay. Let's go back to the keynote. All right, so volunteer and member announcements. I want to give a shout out to Randy, one of our new board members, who kind of thought outside the box and embarked on, the board put together a small budget to see, because Google had a deal on ads for search. It's kind of like a buy one get one free. If you spend a certain amount of dollars, they'll match it. And he put together a bit of a advertising campaign that shows up in Google searches. Now, don't go try do it you guys don't go through and try find the search, because if you click, that costs us money. And so we're trying to do this to see if we can get more membership, because our membership is constantly declining. We're also trying to use it to get, as we get new members, we might have prospective volunteers too. So anyway, he put together a good program, lots of hard work on it, and we still probably have almost another month of it, and then we'll see if we got any results off of it. It's hard to quantify it. So, but again, thank you, Randy. You're welcome to pop in and say anything if you would like.
No, thanks. I think it's really a good option just to explore and always be trying something new. So thanks for moving forward with that idea.
And it's great. He's new to the board and comes in with these ideas, and I think it's fantastic. And the board wholeheartedly embraced it. And we'll see. Anyway, any other volunteers or members have any announcements, things for sale, different things like that? Anybody? Feel free to raise your hand or unmute yourself.
This is Mary, and I found there's a place called Falling Prices, and I have gotten a number of packages of AirTag holders in various sizes and styles for like between $1 and $2, but you have to search for them. But
FallingPrices.com?
No. Well, you can go there, but I've gone to the store. I mean, to the places. You have to dig through the piles, but they're there. And they always have covers for laptops and whatever. Not a lot of Apple products, but you'll see, like, especially older iPhones, you might find new covers. Anyway,
cool.
Looks like
Powering Road, Florence, Citrus Heights, Arden, and Rancho Cordova. Oh, and Folsom again, and Carmichael.
And in fact, I have a couple of extras if anybody who's around the Land Park, Curtis Park area wants one or some, let me know and I'm happy to share because I have probably 3 or 4 extras.
Extras.
Air tag covers.
Oh, there you go. Okay, great.
That's what I found there recently.
Well, that's pretty current stuff, so that's pretty good. And I'm always surprised USB cables and stuff. I haven't in a long time, but dollar stores. You used to be able to get them there, and they're $25 at the stores. So.
Well,
good
yeah,
call,
in
Mary.
fact, a good point. I saw one today. I was there today. It was a $4 day, but it had a little cord that has a little, like a Hydra head with 3 different types of, like a lightning and etc. for $4. So, and
But
there are a
please-
lot of Target products, just so you know.
But please do not buy non-name brand chargers. Cables are probably okay, but non-brand chargers could be a fire hazard. So be careful. Other than that, anybody else? Feel free to speak up. I don't see any hands up. We are moving right along. All right.
Richard did have his hand up, but I guess you answered his question.
Who was that?
Says Hanson had his hand up, but then he took it down.
Well, don't be bashful. Do you have a question, Rich? Okay,
Now
Bev
Bev
has a
also.
question. And Bev, we have your question from the that you sent to Bob. Is that what you're raising your hand about?
You're
Bev?
muted.
You're muted, Bev.
When traveling, question on traveling, if you're charging your different apparatus, the little transformer thing acts okay. All you need is a adapter. You don't have to do a voltage adapter. You just need to have the plug.
Right. So what happens is the majority of our electronic devices, not counting hair straighteners or hair blow dryers, generally speaking, if it comes with a wall plug, the wall plug, so most of them are obviously going to be powered by what's essentially USB. They convert AC to DC. And so most of those power adapters we have are designed dual voltage. They work on 110, 120, whatever you want to call it, and they work on 204 or 240, whatever you want to call that. And what happens is it can change the voltage inside, and that's just a transformer to change it to DC. So what happens is you would just put a plug adapter, not a converter. The old converters you used to have to get would actually convert it to a 110 device, and those are big and bulky, and they're prone to failure, and they do get warm. So realistically, all you need to do is put something on the plug on the end so it will work in whatever country you are, plug wise, because in Europe they use 3-phase and they use 220 predominantly rather than 110 like here. Now, what I always recommend is if you get not a regular power strip, because the power strips most of you have at home have a surge protector in them. And the surge protector won't work because as soon as you try to put 220 into your surge protector, it'll pop the surge protector. So all you do is I get a little one that has 3 outlets in it. It's like an extension cord, but extension cords are pretty floppy and flimsy. But basically you want it 3-prong, and then it has 3-prong outlets on it, but you do not want it to be a surge protector. And what you do is you put your prong adapter for whatever country you're in on the end of that, and then you can plug all your 110 devices into your little cord that you have because you've already changed it to it. I covered that pretty extensively in the travel thing, and that.
Yeah, and I listened to that,
Sure.
and I did get that one that you recommended on the Anchor one, and that is not a surge protector, just the USB-C and 2 plugs.
Right. I
Yeah.
love that one. In fact, I like it so much I bought a second one because I use that at home, not just for travel. Okay.
Thanks.
And then you're saying here about the template because you had to put a disc on it. Which phone do you have?
I have the 10X.
So I don't think it had magnetic charging or inductive charging in it, did it?
Well, but it works. So when I put it on top of the thing, it actually
But it won't
works.
stick to the magnet, right?
Well, I have it on a flat surface.
No, but I'm saying if you were to hang it up, it won't do it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so that's MagSafe. So yours charges like it always has, but MagSafe, you have to either have a MagSafe phone or a MagSafe case or a little adapter like that. Like in my new car, I'm able to I have a MagSafe adapter I got from Spigen that fits on the dash, and it'll hold my big heavy 13 Pro Max by the magnet. So
Yeah, I don't have my. So I kind of hate to attach this to my phone. So.
well, wait a minute. The little one you're talking about, the little one that has all the pop up for the 4-in-1. Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't need the magnet for that.
Yeah, well, they sent. I can't see on my.
Yeah, but you don't need that. You absolutely do not need that. It works, right?
It works. It's very slow charging. It took from midnight to 6. I went from 70% to 90%.
Well, are you? Did it include a USB-C charger?
Yes. Yeah.
And are you using the one for the wall that they gave you, or are you using your own?
I'm using the one they gave me, which has a USB B, USB or A on one side that plugs into the wall, and then the
No, it didn't ship with USB-C, huh?
Yes, the part that goes into the end is USB-C.
Right, but the other end is USB-A.
Well, I think
Well, if you got USB-C,
it's a standard. It's not a USB-C.
Okay, USB-C is going to be quicker and stronger than USB-A. So if you got USB-C, wall wart, or well, actually get a USB-C and use that that anchor. Use the center one. Just get a USB-C cable and run it to that adapter from it. It'll make it stronger.
Yeah, because what goes into the wall, it's a little cube, and then it's the
I know, but you said it's USB-A, so it's not as strong.
Yeah, okay, that's odd that they sent it that way. But
And did it charge overnight?
it was 70%, and it took it up to 90%.
Mine charges like crazy. You need to be USB-C from the anchor to that.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna move on from that. So, Rich, you've got a question, and then Roy.
Yeah, I was looking at the Apple stock, and there was a comment about a feature called Tap to Pay, which was coming up, and I wondered if you could comment about that.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's for in the store so far. I at first read it, and I haven't delved into it very much because it just came up, but it might make the ability for us to just pay someone else, right? If you were out to dinner with somebody, just do that. But to me, it sounds like it's more for in the store, and I didn't go into it fully. Did you read the article, or did anybody else read that article? I have not had a chance to.
What I read left me with questions. I don't know how it works.
Well, we typically with Apple, we don't need to know how it works, just that it works.
Yeah, what I read is that it will eventually be iPhone to iPhone, so not just between you and a business. So, but that's coming. They're rolling things out.
Yeah, thank you, Joel. So it's kind of like, I remember that there was an app a long time ago where you would tap your phone and somebody else's phone and it would send your contact to them. And now we have AirDrop for that. But, with doing this stuff, Apple, of course, they have to be so cognizant of security vulnerabilities, privacy concerns, and not opening up doors that can be hacked, because of course, if it could, then that's going to be what everybody talks about. Just like there was a recent thing where a guy, they made the news about, well, someone can steal a Tesla. Well, it turns out that the vulnerability they had was all other cars too, but it just happened to be Tesla. And it took two guys, a computer, a certain thing, and it was just so highly unlikely it would ever happen, but it makes news. So I think that they would want to make sure that and that may be just a training ground for it too, but it sounded pretty cool. All right, Roy, go right ahead.
Yeah, just had a question about the Anchor power strip. You said for us not to get surge protectors, but when I looked at what I thought was the one you recommended, it said it provides over voltage protection. What is the difference?
So it's protecting not from surges, it's protecting your devices. Whereas a surge protector, so that's not surges, those are over voltage. In other words, it's not going to put out too much voltage.
Okay, so that's okay to get.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Mine's been in many countries and works very, very well. I will tell you, I did have a problem with it, and it wasn't because of that. So the Ken that I travel with has this thing. It was a voltage converter, which is not needed, but he had this box. And it was bizarre because I plugged mine into that box and it worked. Because what it was is because I didn't have a long enough cord to reach where we were trying to get that device. So I just plugged into his because his was on a longer cord, and it was an actual voltage converter. So it was converting things to 110 from 220. I plugged in the 110 and my Anchor thing got really warm. And those of you that are electronics guys, I have a feeling it has something to do with sine waves and things like that. So it heated up my Anchor thing, and in fact, it melted the plastic. And
wow.
Yeah, and so it was not, and it stunk, and it was like, man, it was hot. So I believe that was an incompatibility thing that you wouldn't have thought of, and because and they replaced it, but I really think it was the situation we did, because I look back on it and it's never done it when it was just plugged in. And in fact, it didn't fail, and I plugged it into a regular outlet and it didn't heat up at all, but the plastic was already melted and stuff. And I said, I just did that as a test. I didn't leave it overnight or anything, because at the time we were cruising on the Nile, and fires and ships are not good things. Anyway, so Mary,
thank you.
Yeah.
I've got a Apple Watch question after everybody else had a chance to ask you questions.
Go ahead, Roy.
You sure?
Yeah,
Yesterday, my watch stopped working the way it has. You've got the dial, and then you can flip it up, and you get how much the battery is charging, my search for the computer and stuff. It's just frozen into the dial. Nothing I can do. What happened?
You can hard reset your watch. And what that is you have two physical buttons on the watch, the crown and the oval button. And if you press and hold both of those until you get the Apple logo, that will be a hard reset. And I would recommend that first.
Okay, when I did that, Siri came up.
No, not if you're holding them both at the same time. Probably take it off of your wrist and do one thumb with one and one on the other, and you'll get an Apple logo.
Yeah, Siri comes up.
Keep pressing. Press and hold until you get the Apple logo, but you have to press both of them.
Okay, I'll play with it.
Yeah, work on that, and we'll get Mary's question. Go ahead, Mary.
Yeah, when you were talking about the heated devices, it feels like my iPad every time I use it. the back of it gets really hot, does that mean it is winding down its useful life, or
Well, so do you want me to say yes because as an excuse so you can get a new one?
not particularly?
Okay, then no, it'll be fine. No. So, first of all, make sure you're charging from a good charger.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you have a good charging cable, which would be an Apple one.
Mm-hmm.
And does it do it once it's charged up, or does it kind of stay warm all the time?
Ooh, sometimes I have to say, sometimes it's while I'm charging
Yeah,
charging
well,
it.
that's okay. And
So
how,
that's a problem, I understand.
how old is it?
A couple years.
It sounds like more than a couple, maybe.
It's so hard to remember. It
Is it
feels
a
like 2 or
fingerprint?
3.
Does it have fingerprint ID or touch ID on it, or is it okay?
Yep.
So,
But I will say this, just because in case other people are having issues, it seems to be if I use like the jigsaw puzzle app or something like that, that it is particularly prone to heating up.
yeah, so that's certain things. It's using more. What it's doing is it's using more of the processor, so therefore it's not only powering the iPad but charging at the same time. And so, yeah, and what should happen is when it gets full, it can spend all its time doing that processing and go from there. But what I would recommend is very similar to the Apple Watch reset is do the same thing on the iPad. And depending on which iPad and which model it is, I'm going to give you both ways. And this also applies to the iPhone. Hard resets, and I remember last time Pete was on, he talked about it too. You should do this once a month. And it's kind of like how, people call me up and they say, oh, this is a problem, this is that. And I say, well, have you restarted? And they say, no, as soon as they restart on the Mac, it fixes everything. So it's a hard reset on the iPhone, and the iPad are the same way. And let's see here. Hang on. So if it's got Touch ID on it, now again, like the iPhone 8 has Touch ID, but you're going to do the second one. So there's two ways. The old way, and the way that probably works on your iPad, is you have the sleep wake button on the top, the single button, and the home button. You press and hold those simultaneously and hold them and keep holding them until you see the Apple logo. Now, if that doesn't work, you do the other way. And again, the sleep wake button is the single button, and then you have the two volume up and volume down buttons, and you don't even use the home button at this point. You tap and release very quickly, volume up, then tap and release volume down, and then press and hold the single button. And when you're holding that single button, it will pop up and say slide to power off. Don't fall for it. Continue holding them until you see the Apple logo. And that resets a lot of these things, and it really does help. And
Okay.
I worked with somebody this afternoon was having problems with their Apple Mail, the program on an iPad, and it just wouldn't work. And so I did the hard reset, and it worked just fine.
Thanks, Ken.
You bet. And Rich, was it Rich or Ray that had the Roy? Did you reboot the watch?
It's still not doing it. I've been trying and counting to 15.
How new is your watch?
It's a 2. No, it's a 4.
Yeah, Google how to do a hard. If Al was here, he'd already have the link posted. But
Yeah, I looked it up and it's same as what you told me.
Apple Watch 2, yeah. So you should just be able to take it off your wrist and press and hold both of them.
Yeah, I should be able to.
Yeah, there may be something physically wrong because you said it was stuck on the screen. So it could be that one of those buttons is actually not working.
Yeah.
So,
It,
all right.
it worked fine till yesterday. So,
yeah.
okay,
Joan,
thanks.
go right ahead. Unmute yourself.
Okay. I usually use my computer to listen to MacNexus. I went to turn my computer on and I've got it fixed for password and it won't let me put in a password. I move the cursor there and it won't do anything. I've restarted it. I've checked to make sure that the keyboard's selected, or that it's connected, and the mouse is connected, and I don't know what's happening.
Is this an iMac or a laptop or what?
iMac.
And your mouse works,
Yes, it does.
but the keyboard doesn't.
Well, no, the keyboard, well, I don't know. I take it down to where it's supposed to put in the password and click. I don't get a click with my mouse. I don't get a line, a vertical line to put in anything. And yet my keyboard is,
How? And is it a wired keyboard or wireless?
it's wired.
Okay. How old's the Mac?
It's getting there.
How old is the Mac?
Over 5 years old, say.
Okay.
8.
So my recommendation for you is to do a hard reset or do an SMC on that. So what you're going to do is press and hold the power. Don't do it right now, but I'm going to explain it to you. You're going to press and hold the power button until for I always say 15 seconds, because if I say 10 seconds, everybody cheats. So hold it, not when the screen goes dark. Continue to hold that power button until it shuts down completely. Once it's shut down completely, reach up behind the back of the iMac and pull the power plug out. Once you've pulled the power plug out and leave it out, press and hold the power button for 10 seconds. Then let go of the power button, plug it back in, and start it like normal and see if that fixes it. And again, I can't pull it up, but you want to look for reset SMC is what the key phrase is on Google. Reset SMC, and that might do it.
Okay, thank you.
Good luck. Do you have an alternate keyboard by any chance?
Yeah, I think I might.
Yeah, always try that too. But when you said you couldn't even click on the area with the mouse, that concerned me. You could move the mouse and couldn't click it. So I would try another keyboard, another mouse, just to eliminate that as a factor.
Okay, thank you.
And before we go farther, we have somebody online that's called OMH, not OMG, but OMH. And if you're a member and you want to be eligible for our raffle, we need your first and last name, because that's the only way we can verify that you're a member. Feel free to unmute yourself, and one of the co-hosts could put your name in. And or if you're on a Mac, OMH, are you out there? The way you can tell it's yourself is, let's see, I don't know where it says that. So anyway, you may miss out. That's your name. Let me see if it's, and I don't even know if you're on a Mac or an iPad. So anyway,
Might not be a member, Ken.
Huh?
We do not have a member with those initials.
Okay. All right. Well, good enough. Any other questions? Great questions tonight, by the way. And, all right. Good deal. And good luck, Roy, on rebooting that watch. Oh, Bev, go right ahead.
Thanks.
You're muted, Bev.
Trying to be polite and keep the mute on. I'm wondering if that could be my computer, because I have my Mac Mini hooked up, but there's no audio or no mic or no video camera.
Okay, but
so if I'm signed in twice, because I'm also on my Mac Air.
well, actually, the OMH. Let me look here.
And then
Yeah,
the
OMH does not have a video camera, so that could be you.
Yeah, and then I got a little thingy that says the host would like you to unmute.
Which I just sent.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so that's the answer.
So that's the answer, and it's a
This is
duplicate.
good, because then you don't get two entries. So that's fine. Don't worry about it.
That's good.
Just leave it.
Mystery
Okie
solved.
dokie. All right, so let's go ahead. And again, any other questions before I move into, we can do the presentation a little early because I'm sure there's questions. And actually, we've got 27, so it's not a big group. Again, this is going to be a precursor to the next first Saturday class that we have, where I will dive into detail. But I'm going to try to give just an overview of photos for the Mac. This isn't iPhone or anything else. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And go to Photos. And I see if this works. Okay. All right. So first and foremost, Photos for the Mac is very powerful, and it has been getting better all the time. So in the old days when we had iPhoto, well, we can go back. In fact, it's funny here. Speaking of nostalgia, I was going through my things. Everybody remember this? And this was new for '04. This was .Mac. That brings back such memories. Anyway, iPhoto was on the Mac, and it was it had a lot of legacy code and things like that. But they transitioned when mobile devices started to be something. They rewrote it all, and Photos became a modern photo management program. And when I say photo management, think of it like its first and foremost goal is the repository of your photos. And I like to say it's the shoebox of your photos. Let's go back and think about regular photos like we used to have. So it's the shoebox for your photos, and that's your photos library. To this day, I keep on almost saying iPhoto all the time. Anyway, and Photos works on the iPad and the iPhone, and even online at iCloud.com. And so the idea is that they all sync together. And when I say they sync together, it could be iPhone photos, it could be photos from a SLR or something like that. Those all go into your device, and then they go up to the cloud, and then they propagate down to all your other devices. And cloud, it allows them to be syncing, but also the cloud is the full version of the photo. So it's pretty amazing. But it's the catalog. But now it's also become the way you can edit really well. But one step beyond what it can do is there's a lot of really neat programs out there. And I'm going to show you right now two of my favorites I've got listed here. Luminar, which is Skyloom software, has the new Luminar Neo and Luminar AI. And Bob White, I know you're very good at this stuff, so don't hesitate to pipe in on any of this stuff because you're very accomplished with it. But I do want to point out I
don't know about that.
Well, hey, but feel free to, if I don't mind you popping in at all. If
there's okay.
Any comments, please go right ahead. And Affinity is wonderful. It's Serif is the name because Serif is the thing, but Affinity is a suite of apps. They're 50% off. They have one of the best photo apps for the iPad and iPhone, and they have Affinity Photo, Affinity Designer, which is this is incredible. For $26.99, that's not a subscription, that's the actual price. You own the app for $26.99, and that would replace InDesign for Adobe. Affinity Photo, which I'm going to go in and I'll show you some of these things in there. Again, it's a separate program. $26.99 because everything's 50% off. They all have a money back guarantee. And then the last one is Affinity Publisher, and that would be like, oh gosh, what was the Adobe equivalent? InDesign and wow, it's lost me.
Illustrator.
Illustrator, thank you. So, well, I think so. I think this is InDesign, and this is more like Illustrator. Affinity Designer is more like Illustrator, and InDesign is more like Publisher. So they're all great, and they do have equivalents on the iPad now. If you own it for the Mac, it's not free on the iPad. You have to buy it on the iPad, but then it goes to the phone too. But they're very reasonable, and they're all half price. Now, Affinity can be also acquired in the Apple App Store. And if I type in Affinity, they are available here in the App Store. Now, I own Affinity Publisher, but I did not buy it through the App Store. I bought it from Affinity, so it doesn't show there. But you'll notice the pricing here is also half off in the App Store. So let's talk a little bit about that. If you purchase from the App Store, it's going to follow you. You fire up a new Mac, it works on that Mac, etc. If you buy it directly from their website, first of all, you've got the free trial, or actually it's you buy it and it's a 14-day money back guarantee, so you can treat that like a trial if you want. But the thing is that with them, you go in and in your account, if you've downloaded it from them, oh, come on. Here are my product keys. I'm not going to let that, oh, that's in stamps. Oh, I don't want that. I want, it's not going to show me. Oh, I think because my screen's reduced. Huh. Here we go. I'm trying to get those keys so they don't show up. Gosh darn it. All right. So anyway, I'm going to skip out of that because I don't want that out there because I own it. But anyway, it keeps the stuff there for you. So back to Affinity. Spring sale, 50% off. Don't know when it's going to end, but if you're thinking about it, that's really inexpensive. And again, you own the program. I bought it, gosh, 4 or 5 years ago. And then they came out with the Publisher and Designer, and I haven't done much with that. So again, Luminar, that, and then the other one is, that I really like, is Pixelmator Pro. And they have a free trial. Let's see what the purchase price on it is. It won't tell me because I have it. So sorry about that. Somebody could
$39.99.
$39.99, and again, you own the app. So Pixelmator had been around for a long time. Finally, they made some huge upgrades, and they went to Pixelmator Pro. If you were an existing Pixelmator customer, you got a really good deal on it. So it does everything. It's got layers. This is really a Photoshop replacement. Affinity Photos a Photoshop replacement, and Luminar is a Photoshop replacement, and they have plugins and things like that. But Luminar uses artificial intelligence to really do your photos for you, or you can go through and do all kinds of different things. I will go into more of the features of these, not deep, because each one could be a 10-hour class, but I will talk to you about that on the first Saturday.
If you don't want
oh, and Mary,
AI
you've got a question? Oh, I'm sorry, Bob, go ahead.
If you don't want the AI features, Luminar still sells Luminar 4, and are continuing to update it.
So,
Yeah, and that's been around for what, 4 years?
4 or 5 years, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're still updating it, and they're not. People don't have to buy it again. Mary, go right ahead.
yeah, so Ken, if you buy these apps or other ones, actually buy them outright, do you get the upgrades free after that, or are you going to be
So
on the hook?
upgrades you get, and depending on the company, like okay, Luminar, for instance, they, like Bob says, they still do 4. It still works. Then they went to Luminar AI, and now they're at Luminar Neo. So what happens is the way Luminar does it, and it's called Skyloom. They used to be called MacFun, was the company, MacPhun. They've always been a Mac platform, and they've branched out. But the thing is that they try to make a bunch of new features to encourage you to go with the new version, and then there's an upgrade path on that, which is how you get there. And Luminar is, I think it's 69 or 79. So actually, I'm glad this came up. So you can buy a 1-seat license or a 2-seat, meaning 2 computers. So and by the way, the developers are in the Ukraine. So
Your main office is in Kiev.
Yeah. So anyway, it's $79 for 2 seats, $69 for 1. Now you'll see down here memberships. These are not needed nor required, and all these are is the ability to use, like they have all these different templates and collections and all these add-ons and things like that. So while that is a subscription, that's a bonus. This is not a subscription. This is, you own it. And the other add-on here is their Aurora HDR, which has actually been around for quite a while, and it's very good. It's another automated HDR type program. So anyway, that's Luminar, and you saw Affinity. Good question, Mary. All right, so as far as photos management, I find that's the hardest task for me, because I'm out creating all these new photos all the time, and I don't have time to go and really manage my photos. But Photos, there I go. Photos makes it very easy. But all of those programs, except for Luminar Neo, are designed to work within Photos. And let me show you that. So I'm just going to take this picture, and I'm going to click Edit. And now I have this 3 ellipses right here. And when I click that, you'll see that all of my Luminar 4, Affinity. Now you'll notice Affinity shows all these other programs, and Luminar AI has some of this stuff built in, but Affinity breaks it out to different ones. So the beauty of this is you'll have a photo. And again, I talked about the photo being in your shoebox. So that's your photo library. And let's say you've made some albums and you drag this .mac photo into different albums. Well, what it is when they're in an album, you're referencing the photo that's sitting in the shoebox. And so you're not duplicating the photo when you put it in an album. And what you're doing is you're taking and creating a pointer to it. So it just says, go reference the one in the shoebox. Now, by keeping it in Photos, and I see a lot of people do this, they get these fancy programs, they take the photo, they export it out of Photos, puts it on their desktop, and then they work on it, and then they bring it back in. Well, you don't have to do that because Apple developed this thing called extensibility. And so by these extensions, you can modify this photo using those programs with their full features, but it stays in your photo library the whole time. And there's a couple great reasons for that. It can always go back. Let's say you do this edit whether it be cropping, whether it's like color saturation, whatever it is you do, you might want to always go back to the original photo. And anytime you do any editing within Photos, no matter if it's in Photos itself or using these programs inside of Photos, you can always revert to original. So if you mess it up, don't worry, you can always go back. And the beauty is too, is let's say you make a change, like let's say I was to crop this. Well, it would crop it and then it would go up to the cloud and that cropped version would be on the cloud and then it would come down to here on your other devices. So it's really, really good. And especially like with Affinity for the iPad, I could take, and let's say there was I wanted to darken the sky. I could take my Apple Pencil or my finger and just shade using touch. I could make the sky a little lighter or a little darker like that. And that would go across to all the devices. So anyway, that's a great thing. So I'm going to go here and just show you, like here's Snap Heal. This is one that I really like. And I'll just do this briefly and then I'll show you what Apple can do. So Snap Heal is oh, you know what? It is not going to let me do it because of my screen resolution. It's because I have it so you can see menus. It's not going to let me do this. And I'm stuck in it. So let's try this. Yeah, so. Oh, there's the problem. There, that does it. Okay. Let me see if that fixes it. Oh yeah, there was this like overlay thing. So I don't know if you can see that, this weird overlay is there. In Snap Heal, I can adjust the size of this ring, but if I go up here, there's a little smudge right here. Let's do this. I don't know if you can see that, but if I click that and erase, it got rid of that little smudge. Let's say I want to look at this photo and I want to get rid of this new I'm going to be using this for next year. So I'm going to get rid of new for 2004. So if I click on that, erase, boom, it's gone.
It gives you an amazing fact every time.
I know, I love that. It gives you a fact there and sometimes it's too fast. A jiffy isn't an actual amount of time. All right, so I'm going to cancel that, discard changes, but I'm really going to put this on a regular photo that might need something. Okay, so here's a good example. Oh no, I've got a better example right here. Except this one was already fixed. I thought I didn't fix this. Okay. See, I've got this great picture of Yosemite I took. In fact, Al was on this trip with me. And it's this guy, this other photographer's there. And he kind of ruined my picture. So let's clean this up. I'll go to Edit, Ellipsis, Snap Heal, and I'm gonna do it about, oh, it's got the same problem again. Oh, it's that weird thing over it. Okay. Right about there. Too big. All right, so now I'm gonna just say get rid of that guy. And oh, that was a bad one. So I Command Z, oh, Command Z, undo. Why is that not working? It is, the screen resolution is just killing me here.
Oh, there's an undo button up there.
Yeah, but it's not letting me.
Oh,
There it goes. Oh, the keyboard, it wouldn't work on the keyboard for some reason. So I'm going to make this a little smaller and just do this. Erase. Got rid of the top part. Now he's only legs. And he's gone. And you'll notice what I like to point out here is if I zoom in, you'll notice that it even created a bit of a shadow in there and stuff. It's kind of reflecting this other shadow. So let's say I didn't like this little stump right here. Erase. That's gone. So you can do lots of things. I'm going to show you how to do this in Apple's built-in one called Retouch, and it's gotten much better. And if I go to Retouch, I click the brush, and so now I'm going to bring the size down a little bit. And the size is this circle, so it's like what size your felt tip pin is. Oh. Okay, go away. There he goes. And that's the built-in one that looks like a Band-Aid. It's called Retouch. So think about, you have old photos where you've scanned a photo and it's got a crease in it. You can take the crease out. Let's say it was of you of it as a teenager and you went to the prom and you had a zit on your face. You can fix it. So that's really, really cool. And that's all built in is the Retouch, but the other one is Snap Heal. And I really think Snap Heal has better capabilities. And of course, within Luminar, you can do it too. So those are some great things. Go ahead.
actually, AI does it even better.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right.
I've had photos that were really ancient slides, like 50, 60 years old and had a lot of brown dots from age. Very easily got rid of them.
Fantastic. All right. So that's how to be able to, within Photos, use one of the programs. But we're going to talk about through some of these pictures here what you might do. And as we go through, accomplished photographers, this will be old news to them, but you got to remember the majority of pictures I'm going to show you are iPhone photos, and it's what you do to make snapshots become photos. So first of all, I'm in the middle of the Wadi Rum Desert, and I live in Sun City. So I thought it was appropriate that our glamping, we were in these really rough nomad tents you can see there that are not, they're permanent structures basically, but they're made to look like a tent, so you think you're tent camping. But just little things like that always set the stage. And what I really like with the iPhone is you put this in perspective, and I could have done this in a photo where I kind of blurred out the back, but I wanted to show it. But your iPhone is with you all the time. This is Circumstance. This is out in Rancho Cordova off of Grant Line Road. And it's a place, this is looking towards Jackson, towards the Sierra foothills. And it had rained the night before. And I knew that this is normally just dry. And I knew that this place captured water. And I was lucky enough to get there with a really good sunrise. Oops. So the other thing is, this same location, you'll notice there's barbed wire down in the lower right. Well, I came out here another day and it was really foggy. And so it was really foggy, but I'm taking shots, and I looked over and I looked at the barbed wire and I says, oh my gosh. And I'm doing landscape photography and I see this darn thing. So I got close, and this is dew because it was so foggy. And what's interesting in a water bubble, and you can kind of see it on these, is that everything is upside down, just like when you look through a lens. So this is the ground that's brown and the sky is all white. And you can see that in all the bubbles. So, always look around. I always say, like in hockey, we used to say head on a swivel. This was that same pond a couple days later. The real foggy morning, I went over and found this spot, and I looked down. There was this beautiful grass and the dew in here, and so it got kind of a bokeh effect. So, most of these, none of my photos now, like Luminar. Luminar can put in a brand new sky for you and different things like that, but I'm a purist. I only massage my photos with a little bit more color saturation or things like that. I absolutely refuse to put a sky in that wasn't there. I just think that's wrong and that's cheating, and it's just, to me, it's just not right. Now, if people want to do that, that's fine. They can do whatever they want. I just don't like it. So this same foggy morning, I decided, well, wow, it's foggy. So this is kind of where the Sacramento dump is, and this is a road that goes through to get a shortcut to Rancho Murrieta. And God, it's all foggy, but look at what I found. So look around, play with different things, and just always have your camera with you. I was doing this was a sunset, kind of in the same area, but looking towards Sacramento, but this is actually looking towards the foothills. So I'm doing a sunset from out by the old Douglas, out behind Aerojet, the Douglas test stands and stuff. And I got done shooting the sunset, and I turned around and looked at this moonrise I caught. And I could get rid of these power lines with a program if I wanted to, but to me, that's a bit much. So I don't mind that they're there. But again, I turned around and I was lucky to find it. So again, head on a swivel, keep looking around. When I go set up in a location, in fact, it's funny because when Ken and I go places to take shots, he'll get focused on one spot and go right there. Well, when I show up at a waterfall or something like that, I'll kind of figure out where I want to be in the middle, and then I'll walk quite a ways one way and then quite a ways back the other way to see if there's a better vantage point, whether it be just for the thing or there might be brush or something like that in front of me. So spend the time doing that and then set up. And I know that the problem I have with photography now is I don't take time and really compose my shots like I used to, because I'm such a cheap, frugal person that back in the day when I shot film, I would constantly be thinking about, wow, this is going to cost me this much in film, this much to process and all that. So I would take my time processing and thinking about a shot. And now, because now I can take 10 shots, and 10 shots of a mediocre shot won't make one good shot. So spend your time, create a good shot. Joan, you've got a question. Go ahead.
So it says raw photos. So you're taking them with your big camera.
This one was, but I can do raw in the iPhone too. This was in 2014, so that was really not that. But yeah, the majority of the ones, if it doesn't say raw, but I even have a few iPhone shots that are raw.
How do you do that?
I'm sorry?
How do you do that with the raw?
There's an app called Camera Plus, Camera 2 Plus, that you can shoot raw. Well, actually, you can shoot raw in the iPhone now. For the last 3 models, you can shoot raw in the iPhone. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right.
All right, so let's go here. Let's do the next one. Again, it's just kind of, there's all kinds of things going on. This one's really noisy. This photo, this was done in 2014, and it's a little noisy. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try, and I haven't tried it on this photo, so I'm taking demo risk here, and I am going to go in and try. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. Yeah, I can't do it in Topaz here. So I'm going to wait for the 3-hour class and show you how to denoise, because it's in. So the other thing is, so here I am on an Alaska cruise, and it was moist and, all night. And I get up in the morning. We've just docked into, I want to say it was Ketchikan. And in fact, let me see here. Oh, wow, it doesn't have a location. Oh, because I took it with my Canon. Okay. Oh, because I had this super zoom camera. So I get out of the room, or at the room, I go to the balcony in the room, and I'm getting ready to shoot Ketchikan. We're parked where you can see the city, the boat's right there. And I almost started to take my hand and clear off the water so I could lean on the railing, right? And I set up my Gorilla Pod. Well, I looked down and I saw this wonderful pattern in the really nice finished wood with the water on it. And I said, man, I could use that later. So be looking around and think of different things all the time. Another example, oh, that's coming up. This is one, this just blew me away. And this one was just a sunset looking towards Sacramento from out kind of in that Rancho Cordova area. And it was kind of moist. This was really just timing. I'm out at Mather Lake, which is right by Mather Golf Course. And I'm shooting sunrises towards the Sierras. And when I got done, I come back and I see this heron, and I see an egret, a beautiful white egret. And so I'm looking at them for a while. I'm taking some shots. This is a very long zoomed in shot. And I'd seen the heron, and I saw the heron, and then I looked at the egret. I came back and saw the heron, and he had this fish in his mouth. And that's a pretty good sized fish. And so I then took some photos of the heron, and I came back, and by then he had this down in his throat. He had flipped it up and it went down his throat. But the fun part here was I'd been shooting all morning, and in fact, let's see what time of day this was. Yeah, it was January 7/29. That was probably about right. Anyway, I'm standing at the boat ramp, and it's a really small little boat ramp at that lake, and it's non-motorized boats. And I get done with this photo. Well, I get done with a couple more photos, and I turn, and there's a guy trying to back down the boat ramp, and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry." He says, "Oh, no problem. Okay." And he says, "Yeah, this is my first time coming out here. I hear they've stocked it with fish. What do you think?" And I couldn't get fast enough. I got my camera over to him, and I showed him on the viewfinder of the camera. I said, "Yeah, I think there's fish in this thing." This guy practically jammed the thing in reverse, put his boat down, and couldn't get on that boat quick enough once he saw how big this fish was that this thing had. But anyway, it was pretty neat, and timing's everything. This is at the Raptor Center up in Alaska. And I'll tell you, it was great. And if you're ever up there, go to the Raptor Center, because you get up close with these birds of prey that cannot get out anywhere. They for one reason or another, they're confined, but they do great educational stuff with them. But I'll tell you, I believe this is with my big camera, because I'm in the front row and I'm 8 feet from this, but I really wanted to get zoomed in. And this it's priceless and scary. So, timing is everything. And you should go out of your way to, well, now, what's going on here? I missed a photo. Hang on. Let me see. Oh, I see here. Because there's one out of order here. This photo got moved. All right. So this is a lake called Bow Lake, B-O-W, and I'd seen it on the map, and I was staying down in Banff, or just south of Banff in Canmore, and I use an app, and it tells me when sunrise and sunset is and what direction they come from. And so I said, well, I'm heading north of this. I want to get to this lake before sunrise. So I got up super early, came along here, and this was sunrise at this lake. And I'll tell you, I'm so lucky. It was so great. And this is with my iPhone 10. Okay, so, or the 10S, excuse me, the 10S Max. And there's Bow Lake, and it was fantastic. 6:54 in the morning, and it was awesome. So this did great, but then it started to rain. This is essentially the same shot. In fact, I should look here. So this was at 6:54. The next shot was 6:54. This was like 15 minutes later, and it had this. And this is rain. So by this time, I'm getting pretty drenched. So I went in. There was a little trapper's shack that they have breakfast and stuff there. I went in there for a few minutes, and this was right after that. This was a minute later. The same place, same setting, and what's really cool here is the rocks underneath. And then I went in for a little while, and I came out, and 4 minutes later, I'm sorry, I didn't go in. The rain's starting to stop, and then this is again the same thing. And then this was that time, and then now at 7:20 a.m., I get this shot, and it just, all of these are the same location, same camera, and get this. And then my favorite shot I've taken with my iPhone at 7:24. So to me, it's all about timing, right place. And there's so much going on in this photo, and I didn't know when I took it, because I just like that the reflection here. But what's very interesting in this reflection is, yes, you can see the reflections of this, where all this rubble has come off, and you see that reflected in the water. Then you see, this looks like a reflection of the mountain, but it's not. These are actually the pebbles underneath the water. And up here in the left corner is a glacier, a year-round glacier, and there's a little waterfall up there. And then the interesting part was this blue line. You'll notice the water here is very calm. There's a slight amount of wind there, and all these glacier lakes have what's called glacial flower, and it's a blue look to the water. It's actually very, very fine, microfine, like flour, of the rocks that were crushed by the glacier, and that stays suspended in the water, and it reflects blue light. So that's what caused this blue streak over there. And you know what? It's a darn iPhone photo, and it just, to me, was great. This is years ago. I was down in Medellin, Colombia. This is actually in a town out of Medellin called Guatapé, and it's about an hour out of Medellin. And in fact, it has a big lake there where Pablo Escobar had a house for a while. But anyway, just these colors, different things, and the people in this town square, and they're meeting there because there's like a little play going on. In fact, I think it was the things up because it was one of those puppet things. But what was really cool about this is, a couple minutes later, all these rental bikes have the same colorings. This is this pastel town. So it can be about colors, it can be about lighting and all that stuff. And I just say, look around. I'm not doing anything special here. I'm just constantly looking for places I can shoot. This is the one we did earlier where we took the guy out of the photo. But I want to show you. So here, so this is on the, so right now I'm on the swinging bridge in Yosemite. And for the longest time, I wanted to be able to photograph Yosemite with 2 to 3 feet of snow in the valley. And I was able to, and it was great. And we've got such a wonderful place about 3 hours away from us. So go there. I always say photography is my excuse to travel. And it's what got me there, and I'm really happy I did. But anyway, this is looking out west from the swinging bridge, and this is summer, and this is winter. Same shot, little different zoom, but I just thought the juxtaposition was great there. And this will be the same thing. Now, in this photo, I'm so lucky, the timing, because the sun was hitting the rising sun was hitting the the rocks around Yosemite Falls. And then here it is in the winter, and here it is in the summer. Same spot, just a little bit different zoom out. And again, I'm lucky because I've got good clouds up here. I always think it's great when I get good clouds. One last Yosemite one. This is the one as you're leaving the park. There's a turnout there that's very popular. Bridal Veil Falls on the right, El Capitan on the left, and same location. And I have to say, this was taken 3 weeks ago when I was down there, and the falls were going, and it was great. So the iPhone does a fantastic job. I'm going to show you here a program I have called Haze Removal. It's part of Affinity, but all of them do it. And I'm going to make some adjustments on this photo. So if I go here and say Affinity Haze Removal, it'll take a second. It goes through, and this is a pretty large photo, so it's going to take a second. I'll keep saying it'll take a second. I need the Jeopardy theme song here. So this gives, it's called haze removal, and there really wasn't much haze, but you can see the lighting effect. So it gives you this slider that gives you a before and after. So if you look here, that's just an okay photo. But when I do this with haze removal, wow, the waterfall stands out better. All the grass, even this bush at the side stands out better. Right up above where my cursor is, look at the clarity it brings in. So it's doing all this, and it's making it better. And it's really kind of what I was seeing, because the eye does pretty good. So haze removal allows me to do exposure correction. It picks it, but I can adjust all these things. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that and say Save Changes. Then I'm going to show, we're going to play with the coloring with the built-in things that Apple offers you. So generally speaking, when you've got your Photos app open, you have all these little carrots closed. Because Apple says, oh, we don't want to do anything to get in your way. You just don't just, and in fact, you may not have all of these open. So down in here where this is, it would say add, and it puts you so you can go ahead and it will bring up other things. But we're going to talk about four main things. Now, I've brought up color and light. So I can adjust this photo by taking this slide bar and just adjusting it back and forth. And see, that's a little neater effect if you're looking for that. I'm going to say undo. Anytime I try something, I go back to normal. Then color is the same thing. I could bring in and more saturate the colors. What I like to do is take something to the extreme and to the least, and that way I can see how it's affecting it. I just messed with the slider bar. I'm going to undo that because I'm going to show you something else. So now both of these have, a pull-down menu here that allows you to do each individual thing. Now again, these other programs do this, but this is without any other program, you can do quite a bit here. So this photo is tough because it's pretty dark over here because I'm shooting right into the morning sun. So there's a thing called shadows. So again, I slide it one way and then the other. And if you'll see, it starts to bring stuff out of the shadows. A huge difference. Now, in some cases, that might be too much. This works very well if you're doing a picture of someone and they have the sun in their background, or if they're you're kind of in a bright area, but they're in where the shade is. You can bring stuff out of the shadows. So that's a nice option there. Then I can say, okay, let's go ahead and get a little more color saturation. And then I can play with the exposure a little bit and bring it down. I can adjust all of those things. So all of those are built in. And remember, it's all non-destructive. I can always say revert to original. It's right up here in the left corner, revert to original. So in another photo, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that. I'm going to reset adjustments on this. You can see how kind of bland it is. And I'll say done. And let's see here. Boy, my monitor is so zoomed in so you can see those menus. I am having trouble. There it is. Okay. So Yellowstone in the winter, you know, who would think? I mean, it's just wonderful. These are the pools, anyway, Terrazzo, I think it is. And just this, you know, great color. And this was pretty neat because it was snowing snowflakes on it. Here, it's just a quick little video because it was gurgling. The hot pitch. Don't forget you have video, and I'm going to talk about video in a second. Now, this shot is what I just end up putting on my whole thing for Yellowstone because that was the iconic Yellowstone shot. This, now, here's an interesting concept. My big camera has a pretty good lens, but not a really big lens like you need for wildlife. So we were on a guided tour, and the guide had a spotting scope, and you've probably all seen those. They have spotting scopes which are very, very strong, and they can have a phone mount on them. So what happens is you zoom in with the spotting scope, and then you put your iPhone on it, and you're taking a picture through the eyepiece. And this is interesting because this photo came so good. And what it was is this eagle is over, and there's actually a lot of steam. And you couldn't really see the eagle too well until you really zoomed in because there was so much steam, but it really cut out most of that steam. So a spotting scope is really, really neat. And it's not as expensive as having these big lenses. And that's the only downside to shooting with an iPhone is you don't have long lenses. So look around. This guy, you didn't even see him at first because there was so much steam. And he's just on this old piece of dead tree just looking for his next meal in the middle of winter. And I don't take a lot of photos of myself. I need to do that a little more. But, you know, get one. It gives perspective of where you are and things. And this is, again, through the spotting scope. And this is a pair of wolves. It was one of the 26 wolves that we saw. And the one on the right has a little bit of a red muzzle because there was a buffalo kill. Probably it wasn't necessarily a kill. It was an old age, and they've been feasting on the carcass. And this beautiful little guy. This was through the spotting scope again, and just gorgeous. And with the snow, it worked really well. So this is Yosemite Firefall. You know, I've gone quite a few times. This particular event happens 10 days from February 15th to the 25th is the only time you can capture it. And in fact, it's very hard to capture because you have to have, it's right at sunset. It's about 10 minutes around sunset. Right above the falls, there is a 40-acre snowfield. So this falls, this waterfall, Horsetail Falls, it's off of El Capitan, is fed by a 40-acre snowfield, and there is no reservoir. So therefore, it's just, you know, if it's too cold, the water's frozen and it won't flow. And if there's no snow, there's no waterfall. If the skies aren't clear when the sun sets, this is the reflection of the setting sun with what's called alpengo, and it reflects on the water, and that's reflecting the setting sun. And this reminds me, and this always, it even gives me goosebumps right now, because as a young child, we used to camp in Yosemite for a week every summer in a camping trailer with our family, and they had the old firefall off of Glacier Point. And it was a very, very neat thing. They have since ended it. It started in the late 1800s and it was stopped in the late 60s, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But somebody, Galen Rowell, a big Yosemite photographer, discovered this and the fact that you had to be in a certain spot in the valley and the sky has to be right. But I'll tell you, it's remarkable when you do it. And if the waterfall doesn't work, hey, what's the worst thing? You spending some time in Yosemite. So, oh, somebody put in, Bob White put in the thing. Oh, the Take Control books about on photos. Jason Snell, $15. Jason Snell, who we're going to get again to from Six Colors. He's just great. So thanks for finding that, Bob. And let's see. Another shot of that. And this is, you really get different ones. This one, I've kind of massaged it a little too much. It looks a little fakey, but it was pretty good. I think this was an iPhone shot. So I'm lucky. I bought my house where I bought my house because I have this view. So in this view, I'm looking towards the Coast Range. I'm looking west. The Sutter Buttes would be to the right, and I do not see it from my house. But that's Thunder Valley Casino. To the left is Sacramento downtown, and to the far left, I can see Mount Diablo. It has to be pretty clear for that. But I just, I have a little app. I have an app called Sol, which tells me when sunrise and sunset is. And so the Sol, S-O-L app, alerts me before sunrise and before sunset so that I can check to see if it's worth looking at. So just, you know, you've got to time it. And between the two apps that I use, one called TPE, I know where the sun angle is. In fact, when I was looking at this house, I specifically did it for the location, but I took my TPE app and I looked and I said, okay, the shortest amount of sunlight in the year is December 21st. And I used the app to show me where the sun would be in my backyard on December 21st. And then I looked at the longest amount of sunlight in a day was June 21st. And I looked at that and I said, okay. And at that point, there was no way I could negotiate for this house because I had to have it. So, and my lifelong ambition was to I wanted to have a house where I didn't see the sun set on someone else's roof. And if you look right in front of me, this cursor, that's someone's roof, but you see that the mountains are visible above those roofs. So Thunder Valley is the only one that kind of gets to my way, and that's not too bad. So, we talked about textures. I just got a new Tesla, but this was my previous Tesla, and it had been raining one night, and I pulled it into the garage, and I looked, and the water was beating up on the kind of bronzish look, and I said, well, let's capture that. I might need it sometime. And it's pretty cool. And it's just water on a car, for gosh sakes. This one is the one I use for right here for my background. This is another one from my house. This one is my 12 Pro Max. So this was November 18th, 2020. And we were probably in the middle of COVID at that point. And so the phone actually saturated this a little bit more than it would normally, but it pulled out more of the blues and a little bit more highlights, but this is really what it was. And I'm just so happy that these things happen. I love weather and I love clouds. So, wait around, and generally speaking, your best color in your clouds is within 15 minutes after sunset, because when it goes on the horizon. And if you look in the distance, you can see these clouds by the Coast Range on the back there. If they had been too thick, the sun would have been blocked and it wouldn't have lit these clouds up like that. Oh, another one of the firefall. So that was the very first time I shot the firefall. Yeah, 2021. Well, that can't be. No. This has been copied since then. So no, it was long ago. So anyway, I think I copied the photo in, but it was from, I think it was 2015, if I'm not mistaken. But what's interesting here is it's not just the waterfall. You can see the sun is reflecting off the rocks up here because there's a little bit of moisture. But this was a day where it was kind of windy, so it was splitting around both of them. Actually, I take that back. This was 2021. I have another one from here that was almost like that, but it was windier. So, perspective. So here I am, middle of the Sahara Desert, and I'm on a camel going to go up on this dune to do a sunset picture. Well, when you're on a camel, at least I'm hanging on for dear life. But I was able to get my phone out because I have it in a pocket right up on my chest, or I have it hanging from my neck. And these perspectives of the camels, and you can see that's me right in the center, and you can see my arm is up holding the camera, but it's just a cool perspective. So always look around, see what you can do, and yeah, sometimes you got to get a little risky and it was really hard this camel's going around, and those things are tall. So while we're sitting on top of the dune, it's getting to be sunset, and I just looked around for some great places to shoot this. And this is my iPhone 13 Pro Max, and I used the 3x zoom telephoto lens for this. And just, and this is virtually untouched. I really didn't do anything to this. What I find interesting in the lower right corner here, you see these ribbed textures here. That is not a flaw. It looks like a thumbprint because you can see right there on the other side of it. That's the wind causing those ridges. A little bit farther in the Sahara. So any hotel I stay at, I go and I get the app to find out where sunrise is, where sunset is, and then I try to orient myself. And then what I'll also do is ask if they have like a rooftop bar, or sometimes they have a rooftop that with special permission they'll let you get up to, and you say, I'm a photographer and things. Here I'm on top at this was only a 2-story hotel. It was all adobe like this. And the beauty of it was getting up high like this, I captured so much more of this sunset. So always look for your surroundings, go up top. I remember in Vietnam, I was able to get on top of a hotel and I had some great ones. And people are pretty accommodating about stuff like that because, you're traveling and they want to make you happy. So on this same rooftop, later that night, I shot the Milky Way galaxy with my iPhone. These are clouds in the lower left. When I went to bed, what I did is I woke up early when it was dark to do this. But actually it was all cloudy, and then it cleared up enough that this is with the Milky Way galaxy on your iPhone. And how you do your iPhone. The newest ones, the 13s, and I don't think the 12 does it, but the 13s have a night mode now. So normally speaking, if it's dark and you press the button, you want to hold the camera very still, and it will go from 0 to 10 seconds if it's real dark. And it will expose it. And what it does is, you're obviously moving a little bit no matter what you do, even if you brace it on something. But what it will do is, it will take into account your movement and make the photo clear. It's image stabilization on steroids. But very few people don't know this. But if you take and you mount your phone on a tripod, the phone senses that it is very stable. And it can extend that exposure up to 30 seconds. And so this was a 30-second exposure, which unfortunately I would rather have had an 18-second exposure because the stars would have been more crisp. Because what happens, 18 seconds or less makes it so you don't get any movement in the stars. If you go over 18 seconds, because of the Earth's rotation, you get a little star movement out of it. But this was actually able to get 30 seconds because it was mounted on a tripod. But also, before you mount it on the tripod, I went to get the stars overhead by simply setting the phone upside down so the good camera was shooting up. And then I used my watch. And actually, while the iPhone was on the tripod, I used my watch to take the photos. So you use the camera app in your watch and you tap it, and that way you're not moving the phone and you don't have to go find that button. Because where I had a little tabletop tripod, and to try get in to press the button on the phone, it would have wiggled a little, and I didn't want to put the delay on it. So what happened is, by doing it on the Apple Watch, it did it. Also, Apple Watch works great if you're in a group and you want to take a group photo. You activate your camera, your iPhone, from the Apple Watch. So, goats and trees, tree climbing goats. This is in Morocco. And yes, these goats climb these trees. This is the argan tree, and I'm sure many of you know about high-end cosmetics and argan oil. Argan oil is the fruit of this tree. It's more like a nut, and they don't really eat that. They eat the leaves, but they're up here because they're easier, they get away from predators better, and they can forage more of this tree. But what we've got here is something that we were able to start doing a few years ago, is we can put titles on photos. Everybody kept requesting that in iPhoto forever. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So I go into edit mode, and I go to the ellipsis, the 3 dots. And when I click the 3 dots, I come down to what's called markup. This is not a program. This is built in to Photos, okay? So you don't have to pay for this. It's there. You could forget all these others and you still have markup. And when you click on markup, you get a little menu here, and there's different things you can do. I can make a squiggly line, or I turned it off. I can make a squiggly line. I could do different things. I could say make it square, make it round, do whatever. I could just do a shape. Let's say I just want to put a circle here. I can adjust the circle, do whatever I want. I'm going to get them out of the way. What do they say? Well, okay. And now I want to put in text. So I click on the text box. I take this text and I say, really cool. And now I can put this wherever I want. And when you save it, it saves it as part of the photo. If I want to edit this, I go here and I could change the text color. I could change it to that. I can adjust the font size to make it bold, not bold, put it underlined, do whatever you want. It's not a fancy text editor, but you do have a lot of different ones you can do in here. But it's very simple, and it actually becomes part of the photo. But if you ever go back in and edit the photo, just like anything else you do in editing in photos, you could remove this. So I'm going to get rid of that, and I'll get rid of really cool. But anyway, anything you do that photo, that would be on there. So I'm not going to save changes. Take pictures of your food. You know, it seems kind of weird. And what's really bizarre is, for some reason, I have this on burst. I was holding it down for some reason. But anyway, you know, that kind of tells you where you were, and just remember things. I love central markets. I love the colors of these. Let's do a thing. In fact, when we do the other class, I'll show you how in that class is you can boost certain colors. Now, Petra. Petra's wonderful. The night we arrived, they were doing this, and the iPhone has great low light capabilities. So just try to get, I let people go a little bit ahead of me. There was no one there, so I was able to get that. And then I have it same spots in the daytime, the next morning. If you're ever around Lake Tahoe, this is in Emerald Bay, and it's where the turnout is and everything. This waterfall is 20 feet from the road. There's no big hike or anything. It's great. And just look for spots like that. And, you know, don't be so fast to travel to the next spot. Again, this is my backyard. This was a couple weeks ago when I was in Yosemite. So I'm coming back from a huge trip I did this winter, and I'm going across the Nevada desert, and actually, I'm sorry, this is the Utah desert. Oh, and I got to revert to original. I had taken these signposts out. So I use Snap Heel for that, or I can use Apple's one. See, they just kind of, they don't tell the story, but I need to keep this wide so I could just go in and remove those. But just things like that. I'm driving along the road and I go, man, that's cool. Pull over. This is one that's interesting. And in fact, I need to revert to original on this. So this is one where you'll see haze removal does a great job. This was at Whitney Portal. So this is out of Lone Pine by the Alabama Hills. And look at the difference between these two photos. And you'll see how it really clears up that haze in the distance. So this is just before sunrise, and that's actually Ken, and he's photographing Mount Whitney right behind me, and I was too, but I turned around just to see this because the sun is already shining on Mount Whitney at this place, at this time. So, all right, so this is pretty cool. This is on your iPhone, portrait mode, and I'm looking at my time. Okay, got a couple more things and we're done. On your iPhone, we have what's called portrait mode. So I'm going to hit here and hit edit. And then, so the difference between a snapshot and a photo is this. So typically an iPhone would shoot it like this. And you'll notice the background is really too intense. Most of the time that background is going to be in focus. Well, if you shoot in the portrait mode on the phone, this thing had to be within 6 feet of you. And watch what I can do, and it's called bokeh. After the fact, which you can't do with a regular camera, I adjust and blur the background, which makes the front look more prominent. So I'll do the next one is a little bit better. This was a sand painting class, and I pretty much suck at sand painting, and that wasn't even mine, so that's good. But I took this photo, and see how everything's pretty much in focus. But if I take it and put the rest out of focus, you pay more attention to it. It turns a snapshot into a photo. Here's another example. So here it is at our camp in the Wadi Rum Desert. And all of this stuff back here is in focus. Even though this is a very low light situation, it's so amazing with the iPhone. But what I can do is, I don't really care about the background, so I blur the background with bokeh, and now the fire stands out a little bit better. So experiment with that stuff. And this is one other thing with your iPhone, and this is one of the, I'll just pound through after this, but this one is amazing because this is, you have live photo on your phone, and I normally turn it off, but live photo is pretty amazing because this photo, and I may have to get out of full screen. Let's see where it is here. I've got to get out of view, edit full screen. Okay, so yeah, zoom bar, get out of the way. So long exposure. So this is what it normally looks like, right? It's just a live photo. And if I want to do if I hit edit and I do live, so that's what the photo looked like. And I did this on purpose. So this is not a great shot, but I'm going to show you the effect. There's what the photo looks like, but I have the option, because it was an iPhone photo, of doing a long exposure, and look at how it softens the water, and it gives that effect that photographers always do for waterfalls and things. So that's live photo. And then this was another one. Instead of, this is what the picture looked like, which wasn't bad, but it just really, really looks better that way. And so what happens is the long exposure softened the little ripples of wind on the water right there. always don't forget to do a video. I mean, this is a little 10-second video. I love all the bright colors they have there. And this is one of our people that were driving the camels, just the blankets from the camels, they take them down. And, you know, now when you're taking video, don't, unless you're on TikTok, which I don't know that many of you are, you always should take it in horizontal landscape mode, because videos will always be viewed in landscape mode. And I'll give you a little trick to remember that. You're going to be viewing it on something that's built just like Ken. It's wider than it is tall, and that's what you want to have. This is video through the spotting scope. This is our ski club. Just, you know, it's amazing. This is very tough lighting situation, and it does it. Let's see here. Panoramas. Panoramas are huge. You do not have to go the full way on a panorama, but here was the swinging bridge. This is where I took those other photos from before. You could see here where I'm shooting it this way, and then remember the other one where I had summer and winter of this little sandbar here. So, you know, use that for perspective. This is inside a building that was from 1440. It's an Inca building. It was a house, and we're having lunch in there. A panorama was the only way to capture people. Machu Picchu looks so much better in a panorama. This was Cusco, and this was daytime. This was nighttime, same photo. That was a panorama, the ones we saw earlier. Monument Valley. Now, I want to point out here, this is from Monument Valley from 2011. So this was like, you know, the iPhone 4. And you look here, there's quite a bit of a color variation. And the software wasn't there yet. And now when you take a panorama, you can see that the color is all melded in very well. And I've taken panoramas where I go from the bright sun to the shadows, and it does a great job. But the iPhone 4 didn't really have the horsepower for that. Tiananmen Square. This was a great way to capture this building. Yes, it's out of perspective, but because it's a long rectangular building that's a Kwanzaa, that type thing. But the Tiananmen Warrior, or the Terracotta Warriors, inside the MGM in Macau, that's believe it or not, a aquarium in the middle. This wasn't my photo, but local weathercaster Mark Finan. Follow him on Facebook and other places. He is a fantastic photographer. And let's see, Mesa Arch. Mesa Arch. Panoramas. Just great effects with panoramas. This was a great effect of everybody looking at the firefall. The Iwani. Getting out of this. Finish panoramas. Here's a perspective. Here's the same view in two different panoramas. One zoomed in, one not so zoomed. Oh, vertical panoramas. This is the last point I wanted to make. You, instead of doing panoramas horizontally, and remember, always hold your camera straight up and down to do a horizon panorama, because the thing's already going to be wide enough, so you don't need your phone to be like it would be in a video. But in this case, you hold your phone wide, but you go from bottom to top with the panorama, and you're going down to up, and it really captures it well. I did that when I did the redwoods also. This is one of them, but some of the other redwoods like that. By the way, that photo was done with an iPhone, and that was like 2015. This was the one I was thinking earlier. That wasn't 2019 either. Okay, so, that was another firefall. That's it for my photos. So, I see one hand up, Roy, and then we're going to get to the raffle. Roy, go ahead with the question.
Yeah, how do you get to adjust from your photo page?
In what regard? To the adjustment. Okay. You go to you double click the photo to open the photo, and in the upper right corner it says edit.
Okay. Let's see here.
And that was my fault for not covering that. Okay. All right. And let's,
Oh, edit. Okay.
yeah,
Cool.
edit, and then
wow.
edit is all the adjustments.
Never
And then
knew.
the ellipsis, once you're in edit, the three dots, the ellipsis, is where you get markup. And then if you have other add-on programs, they're there.
Very cool.
Okay, for the drawing, Lisa, what do you have for a number of attendees?
For the number of attendees, as I bring my screen back up, sorry, it just clicked off. We have 30.
10% of our number is here. So
Yep.
as always, we have gift cards for the big company that starts with an A, not Apple, but the other one. I don't want to say it because it'll make my Echo device go off and maybe yours too. So we do 4 $25 gift cards, and then we go and do, this is for attendees, and then we do 2 $100 gift cards for attendees, and then we have a separate set of numbers for the full membership, which at this point is 300, and we draw for those. And if you win a $25 gift card and then later you win a $100 gift card, you have to give one of the prizes back, and we will redraw it. And I would encourage you to probably give up the $25 gift card, but I'll leave that up to you guys. So, and I say it all the time like that. So I will use Siri, and we will. And so if there's if I don't speak clearly, and because I can see on the screen if it does it right, if it misses, that number's thrown. That draw is out. I redraw because it has to be the full 30 people, not if it says 3. 1 through 3 doesn't work. All right, so here we go. Give me a random number between 1 and 30.
That would be 29.
29.
Sharon moves.
Sharon, congratulations. All right. Give me a random number between 1 and 30.
It's 10.
10.
Dennis Irwin.
Dennis,
Yay.
great. And give me a random number between 1 and 30.
It's 7.
7, lucky number 7.
Charles Murphy.
Charles Murphy, congratulations. And the last of the $25 gift cards. Give me a random number between 1 and 30.
It's 28.
28.
Samantha Fajardo. I apologize if I mispronounced that.
Congratulations. Now we will go to the 2 $100 gift cards that are for attendees. Give me a random number between 1 and 30.
The answer is 19.
19, that's a new number.
Congratulations, Ken Spencer.
God, I haven't won in so long. Thank you. Oh, and the 100. Woo! I know what I can buy with that. Thank you. And just to point out, Siri is doing the numbers. I have no control of that. And Lisa and Mary are the only ones that know the numbers of people, and they have no control over the drawing. So that's how we have it fair. So the second membership $100 is, give me a random number between 1 and 30.
It's 1.
1, it's inclusive.
Bertie Smith.
Bertie, congratulations, Bertie. All right.
Thank you.
Now, if 19 comes up, it wouldn't be me again because this is a whole different number setup. So give me a random number between 1 and 300.
It's 196.
196.
196 is Tom Jessen.
Okay, fantastic. So all of you this evening, once we get done here, and I'll stick around for some questions, everyone that won something will get an email from me, well, from Amazon, but it'll be from MacNexus. And don't think of it spam. And then I always have to I always follow up with an email on the member one because it may look like spam to them and they weren't here knowing that they might have won. So anyway, you'll get that. It'll come later this evening. And congratulations, everybody. I'm happy to stick around for questions. And don't forget, the first Saturday of next month, we're going to dig down in and get deeper and deeper into this and have fun with photos and go out and take some photos, you know? Well, in the morning or the evening because actually it's supposed to start cooling down tomorrow a little bit, so that'll be good.
Thanks,
So,
Ken.
go ahead.
Just want to say thanks.
Oh, thank you, Roy.
Learned a lot.
Hopefully your phone can get rebooted. I'm sorry, your watch. Rich, go ahead and ask your question. Unmute yourself.
What's a good way to attach my iPhone to a tripod?
I have it in the email that was sent to you about the travel presentation. I have a standalone one I absolutely love. And I will pull it up and actually show it to you guys. And what I'll do is while I'm doing that, Randy, I can answer your question so I can, takes me a minute to get this.
Sure. I have the Luminar 2018 and the Luminar 3. I noticed in your presentation, there's now a Luminar 4.
Well, and there's Luminar AI was after it, and Luminar Neo is now.
So,
and Bob probably knows. Bob would be the one to ask that if he's still around.
Still here.
Bob, which one's your favorite or which is your go-to?
Lately, it's been AI.
Okay, thanks. I'll check it out.
But
Thank you both. Yeah.
Neo's good also. So.
Oh.
Neo's the newest, and it's got a lot of things. Okay, here is my tripod. So I had all these plastic ones and stuff, and this one is the bomb. This is the one I actually used to do the Milky Way Galaxy with. I will put this link in the chat. So to everyone. So the way this one is, it is all machined, excuse me, hiccups. It's all machined aluminum. It has a knob on here so you can do it horizontal or portrait, and it also is a bit of a ball socket so you can adjust it any way you want. And at the bottom is the 1/4-20 to put it on a tripod, but also this little foot sticks out. And I was on the table I had was like a marble table at the hotel when I did the Milky Way. And so I just used this little foot. It's set on the table. This on the bottom though still has an adjustment to put it on a tripod, and it fits virtually any phone. It basically unlocks and slides apart, and then you screw it right onto the phone, and you can see all the different angles. And there you can see it mounts to a monopod or to a tripod. And it actually, the base of it, if you have a tripod that uses what's called ARCA, which is the shape of the plate on the top, you can do that. Or it has the 1/4-20 screw on the bottom. And then comes with it is this little microphone stand. This is for video bloggers and stuff. And that just comes with it. It's just a plastic attachment. The microphone doesn't come with it. It's just that.
So who makes that?
Well, Pictron store. I just Ulanzi, and I just and ironically Ken found this one and I fell in love with it, and so I ended up getting it after he had it. But it's just fantastic. So here's another version of one, but I really like this one. And I have the inexpensive ones, the plastic ones that work great. I have one from Joby that I really like, but this is so much better. And the cool thing is if you're just somewhere, you just take it, and you could set it with its little pop-out leg, and you could set it on something flat, and you could take your group picture, or you could do a selfie in front of the Treasury in Petra or something like that. But it does mount to a tripod also. And it's actually got kind of a little hot shoe kind of thing at the top, but I didn't use that. But it's fantastic. Oh, in fact, yeah. So the other thing is, when you load it on a tripod like this, you would be looking at the other side of this, and because you want to have the screen available to you without that bar across it, and it doesn't get in the way of the lenses. So, just like
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yep. Links in there. Any other? Randy, I'm sorry. Go right ahead. Did I answer yours earlier?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'll lower my hand.
No, I got it. Barbara, go right ahead.
Yeah, do you have a tripod that you actually recommend to use with that attachment you just showed, that adapter you just showed?
Well, what I do, so this kind of has its own tripod, but I kind of have 3 courses that I use. I'll show you one here. We'll do a Joby GorillaPod. And you'll recognize the Joby GorillaPods. They have these arms that wrap around things, so I can put it on a tree. I can make it a tripod. It has an adjustable ball on it and things. And then they make lighter ones. So this is one that's got a smartphone mount incorporated with it, and it's a little lighter. So those work very well, and they're not very tall. They're 6 to 8 inches tall. And the stiffer ones like this are made for cameras up to 6.6 pounds.
Okay.
So that's that, but you can get lighter weight ones. And the big thing is they just fit around something. And then as far as tripods, boy, then my next step is I have a monopod, and it doubles as a walking stick. So I like that, and it works quite well. And it's a little heavy as a walking stick, but it's adjustable. And so that's another one. And you can get them with a ball head, or the nice thing is with this thing, you can get it so it's just a flat screw on the top, because that adjustment on the iPhone pod I just had here was it has a ball to adjust it itself.
Okay.
Then the last thing is a tripod, and I'm going to show you this new one that I've kind of used, but it's a good travel one, but it's not my go-to travel. It's one for travel because it's weird. It's a monopod that has this bottom on it in the links. So what was neat is this can come off and be used as a tabletop tripod for that thing I was talking about, the other holder, or it collapses and it's the bottom leg of a monopod, and this monopod comes with tips on it, so your monopod could be a walking stick also. But it's kind of a catch-all. And then this comes with this iPhone holder, and that one works pretty well, but it doesn't have the features of the other one. And I'll put a link to this in there, but it's an okay monopod, it's an okay tripod, but it gets the thing across. It's not light, so it's one but it does collapse pretty far, which is important if you're putting it in your bag.
Okay, thanks.
These legs, this thing comes off at the bottom, but also you'll notice the legs fold up right into it. So and then it's got a little case. And then this has the twist type rings, because on cheaper tripods, I've had trouble with the ones that have the flip. If you ever get one that have the flip legs, which are fine, you have to make sure the tension is adjustable. Because I had a fairly good Vanguard tripod, and the clips that you flip were not adjustable, and it wouldn't hold any weight at all after a while.
Okay.
So, all right. Any other questions?